This session required accurate timekeeping, so I built a clock. Hello and welcome to the Battling Barrow and another D&D campaign recap session. First of all, I'd like to take this time to thank everyone that wished my mum well recently. She had an accident the other week, and that's caused me. She doesn't live near me, so I'm visiting the hospital a lot. She has to remain bedbound for 6 weeks, so it's taken a bit of time for me out of my schedule. But of course I would. It's my mum, of course I'm going to look after her. And thank you for everyone who's been supportive. Now, on with this week's D&D campaign session. So yes, this is the time of the heist. The players have been hired to lift a jewel from a noble family, and they've been planning. If you want to watch what planning they've done, watch the previous recap. For that, this is the time of the heist. Now, some people may recognise where I've lifted this sort of story from. It's from a Lankmar book. I can't remember which one. It's from a D&D, AD&D 2e, I think, Lankmar book. And that's why my memory of the Star of the East, I remember being called the Star of the East, but my actual what it was, I couldn't remember exactly what it was. Was it cursed? Was it beneficial? But for me, that works because it's meant to have been lost for a while, so of course the knowledge of it will be sketchy and contradicting in some places. Is it cursed? Does it heal? We don't know, so that worked for me. And one other thing I remember from this adventure is a strict timekeeping schedule. So if the party went off, the costume ball party went off without a hitch as planned, has all these different time beats for it, which will happen if the players don't interfere with it and just let the party be. So for this end, that is why I created this clock. It's quite a simple thing. It has a stand which isn't on at the moment, just some feet, so I could have it in front of the players. It's just a bit of chipboard with a clock face stuck on these hands that are just on with a butterfly clip. So I could sort of say, come in and say, like, first of all, we start on the day. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Boom. It's now 11 o'clock in the morning. So they can see a passage time and what happens. Things go on. Before we do that, though, we have to go back, because we don't actually start on the day of the heist. We go back a few days, so they've still got a bit of time to prep. They need to make a fake. They have to research what the actual Jewel of the East looks like, and because it has this magical properties, the Wizards Guild had notes on it in the past, and what have you. There was someone who actually claims to have seen it as well. They could have seen, but we didn't go down that avenue. Galfenwith, now a member of the Wizards Guild, just joins that, researches it in the library. Now, I haven't touched upon it a bit in this session, but it's something I want to expand upon in my projects this year as well. I want to build the Wizards Guild, all the different buildings, and this building, the library, is a bit of a TARDIS. It's smaller on the outside, and when you're into it, it seems massive. And yes, the librarian is an orangutan. So she's studying that, but we start off. I'm kind of sort of working my way backwards in this story. We start off in straight away where we left off last time. So it's the evening of the festival, which is winding down. And Nerophol's mood has been causing, without him knowing, to cast minor illusions on his shadow, so it looks off. And this is putting our other two players on edge. So they decide to go back to their inn, the Dagger Inn, where they have been staying. They need to collect their stuff anyway, to just spend a bit of time away from Nerophol. And it's whilst they're doing that, whilst they're in the Dagger Inn, just having a nightcap, they're approached by someone called Theosis. He is from the northwest, and so I portrayed him with a Geordie accent. Everyone in Black Sand I'm portraying with a sort of Cornish-ish accent, or as good as what I can do for it. I am not going to do the impressions here. This is a pure recap. If you want to hear how it sounds, you can, of course, join the Patreon and watch the full play session for fun and games. So he approaches them and sort of comes down and says, I might have to do the accent. If I slip into it, I apologise to every Geordie in the world for my terrible Geordie accent. And he sits down and says, he introduces himself and says he's got some work lined up for him. Don't worry, it's nothing illegal. It's just sort of courier work, and he's been watching them, and they look like they can handle themselves. And he gives them, I think it's 30 gold each, just as a down payment for the work. They sort of know of him, they've heard of him. He's a shipwright in the city. He's a trustworthy man. The reason he's quite distinct because he is a northeastern part of the land, part of Karamikos rather than southwestern. So yeah, they know of him. For all intents and purposes, he is trustworthy. Meanwhile, back at the Fisherman's Fiend, Aniraphel has gone outside to get a better fresh air and try and clear his mind. He is feeling off just recently, like the dark side of him is trying to take control, and he doesn't want that. So he's trying to clear his head. And as he's doing that, a drunken man sort of stumbles past him. And at the same time, he senses something from the alley behind him, which he spins round and sees two sort of hooded figures step out. And at the same time, he then feels something on his back behind him. He turns around, and the drunken man is now standing there, perfectly sober. Now, again, he gets offered work from these guys, and he gets a down payment of 50 gold. But this time, the work's a bit more kind of up his street, so we say, not quite on the level as Theus's work. This one's a bit more similar thing. Going to contact him in the future when the job goes down. They've been watching him. It looks like he's good at what he does, setting up a new thieves guild. It's going to be that type of work they're going to need him for. So yeah, they've both got future bits of work. Now this is good for a DM. My group composes of 3 people. It's my wife and 2 of my friends. Now, my wife is always going to be, if I'm playing the game, it means my wife will be playing the game. The only time my wife won't be playing the game is because she's ill, and then we won't be playing the game anyway because she won't want the house being full of people if she's ill. So my group is effectively all 3 or my wife and 1 of the other 2 players. So this is a good way for DMs, if you're in a similar group, to set up a session where maybe one can't make it for whatever reason. You've then got a session you can recall upon to go, oh, remember that time you got the job when it was your group got the job, yada yada. So yeah, that's what that was for. That's setting up something for future, or was it? So it's the gal from Whiff goes off and does her investigation work for a few days to get the gem, and when she's got the investigation, they need to give it to the Thieves Guild Forger, Master Forger, so he can produce it. Now, he knows he's on the timescale, he knows normally you would charge other members of the Thieves Guild free services, but this is all a job on behalf of the Thieves Guild, so it's all free, and he is going to get it done in time. In the meantime, we are working with Aniraphel and Walker. Now, Walker is a ranger, and our rangers are normally in the wild, but we've moved urban, and so there is this juxtaposition of how useful he is in his skills. What rangers have a favoured environment. I think Walker's is coastal at the moment. It's coastal. It's grassland and coastal. It has 2, but coastal good. We're going to be coastal based as well. We're getting a boat soon. Yes, that's great, but the grassland, not so much useful for our current adventure. Now, this is what happens when we're doing more of a sandbox type campaign, where I didn't really plan for this to happen to be an urban adventure, but here we are. This is where we're at, and so what we decided to do is to give Walker a new favoured environment of urban. But we couldn't just willy-nilly just give it to him. Where's the fun in that? No, we went for a training session. Now, in my mind, I've said this a lot of time, I'm thinking Garrett from the Thief Dark Project video game series, where he's a thief but he's in the urban environment. I'm seeing him more as really, even though he's a thief, he kind of was a ranger as well, with all the different arrows he had and different skills and what have you. So that's where I'm trying to get Walker into being. So Aniraphel is already fairly urban-y trained, so they climb up onto the roofs and they have a training session where they're skipping from roof to roof and fighting on the roofs and doing all these different skill checks and what have you. And I don't know what happened, but Walker's player's dice were atrocious, so he wasn't grasping it. So, and I was leaving them to almost Aniraphel to DM that session as it's his character training him. But then I stepped in at one point and sort of said, I had described the city as being filthy and noisy down below, but when they climbed up onto the roofs, the noise was quieter and the air was fresher. You could smell the salt water, and with that you could hear the waves crashing, and tried to get him to a zen-like wusa state of mind where he could hear the ocean crashing against the docks and blocking everything out in his mind. And suddenly the rooftops become the peaks of the waves and what have you. It worked out rather well as a roleplay thing, and suddenly he rolls the dice and yay, it's all okay, it works. And so then he treats the the roofs as the waves, and suddenly he gets it. He's acrobatic and being nimble and what have you, and becomes a ranger of the urban environment. Great. Perfect. A bit of fun, a bit of role playing to get that in. We are done. And so there was a few other little bits and pieces that go on that happen. But if you want to watch that again, watch the full playthrough session. There's things with Bargo the wheelie boy and things like that, a bit of fun things, but that's not what you're here for. You're here for the heist. So it's the day of the heist. Our players have got their costumes ready. His girl from Whiff is going to go. It's got a forged ticket. She could have got one via the Wizard's Guild because they're allowed to go to such things above the session, but no, they go for a forged invite. Anirafel is going as guest of Marianne Diago, daughter of not the head of the family, daughter of the brother of the head of the family. I forget his name. Fortunato Diago. He is a merchant and travels a lot, and he is in fact going to sea tomorrow for travelling. The head of the family, the Diago family, hasn't been seen. In fact, he is normally a baron, but his barony is not in the Black Eagle barony. Obviously he has his own barony, but this branch of the family have set up in the Black Eagle barony in Port Blacksand. So the head of Diago is not here. No one actually really sees him either. He goes wandering a lot in forests. Anirafel has managed to disguise himself as, I can't remember his character's name. It's a Spanish-based name. Watch the full playthrough for his awesome accent as well. And so, yes, he is going to be escorting Lady Marianne Diago to the party, and Walker is going as his servant. Now, as I said, I have a strict timeline for the event, so the players can obviously interrupt this at any time they want. So these events will happen no matter what, and I pre-planned them. Everything that happens here is pre-planned. One thing they weren't aware of, but was pre-planned, is servants are not allowed in the ball. They have to go to a separate room where all the servants are. Now, I could see this when they entered. This instantly scuppered their plans because they wanted Walker to be around, but we'll get to that in a minute. As they turn up at the gates, the guard duty is doubled on the day of the party. They've been watching it. It's been heavily guarded anyway, but the night of the party, loads of guards. There's city guards, and there are Sturchenza guards, household guards. On the doors of the gates to the property are 2 city guards. Now, in Port Blacksand, I don't know why. Okay, so my guards in... if you heard a phone, I apologise about that. So my guards in my world, I don't understand why. If I was running a realistic medieval RPG game, my guards would be what they are in typical D&D games, level 1 to 3. But we are talking about a magical medieval world where you have monsters, you have wizards, you have adventurers. Why would towns have guards where they're just levels 1 to 3? Who are that going to protect? No one. So my guards are way higher than that. They are ex-adventurers that have decided they're getting too long in the tooth to traipse around in damp dungeons. So now patrol and guard city. So they are hefty mofos. They are between level 12 and 18 because, you know, they've got to protect themselves from adventurers from monsters. I never understand this mentality of that, so I do away with that. I gave the players the hint of this when they first entered Black Sand. There were 2 troll guards on duty. You know, these aren't your standard guards. And speaking of troll guards, that is who is on gate duty as they enter. It's Stinkbottom and Foulbreath are their names, and trolls smell humans, and of course they're sniffing and they can smell these humans coming on. They don't recognise them, but they can smell them, and it's a bit of a, oh, we didn't think about this or plan for this. He smells disgusting.
He?
Doing well with that outfit.
What do you mean, he?
Oh, sorry, all you humans look the same to me. Disgusting. Smell rank as well. We've met you before, ain't we? Coming in one of our gates. Weren't you up for murder?
No, I think you're thinking of someone else.
Smell like them, but then again, if humans look the same, perhaps they smells the same.
Yeah, a bit of mistaken identity, I think.
But trolls are also stupid, and so they managed to get past without any incident. There was a bit of role playing, a bit of back and forth, a bit of banter, but they're in now. And so yes, the first thing that happens is the town, there's a herald who announces with a trumpet their presence, that they're here, and then Walker's quickly escorted off to the servants' room, and Aerophol's trying his best to, but you got to remember, again, the way I play this, he's nothing to them. He's not even a noble, a gentry. He is just escorting a noble, not even a noble. I think the Baron Diago is a noble. She's just the daughter of the brother of a baron. She's just gentry. She's low level. So there's a Aerophil trying to say, trying to roleplay it, but I'm like, nope. Doesn't matter what dice. And this is the other thing with D&D, with say persuade, you roll. It doesn't matter if you got a nat 20. Don't care. That's not happening. All that might happen is he might go. You can have your guard check. Your manservant can check on you once every hour. With that nat 20, that's getting you. People get confused with these D&D rules. They get confused when they think I've rolled this, so I should be able to do what I want. No, not in my games, laddies. No. It gets you something, but not what you want, because, you know, I'm in a king's chamber, I rolled a nat 20 on persuade, I'm going to persuade the king to give me his crown and let me take over the kingdom. I got a nat 20, should be able to do that. No. I'm in combat and I want to hide, I've rolled a nat 20, so I'm now going to hide. No, that's not what dice roll mean. So yeah, whilst it sometimes sounds like I'm being hard, it's how I've always run D&D, and I think that comes from a very Beck me kind of way, where it teaches you, you know, the old school way is the way. So yes, that Scupper plans their plans, but he's then looking for the jewel, but she's not here. The Domic, the party owner, the husband of the wife who's going to be wearing the jewel to Arena, he's there. He's all very, very open to talking. He's a showman, as it were. He likes showing off. He likes showing off that his wife's got this jewel and what have you. But she's not there, because she's going to come down. I believe I had it set to 9:30. She's coming down at 9:30. But we're talking, the party started at 8. They got there at 8:45, because no one arrives late on time. You have to be fashionably late if you're there. What they do notice, though, there is a guy dressed up as a Grim Reaper who gives them a bad vibe. This is Jubal, the Necromancer. He has cast continuing light spells in the chandeliers that lights the place up. He's the one that also time stasis the safe, so effectively that safe isn't in our time. You can see it, but it's effectively not there, so you can't pick it, you can't take it, you can't do anything. There are also, which the players didn't know about, electrical wards all over the room and safe, so if they had gone there, it would have been their death anyway. So there's that. There's also someone that they followed that entered just before them, who was dressed up as a Black Panther. Now, as soon as I said that, of course, we're all thinking of the Marvel movie Black Panthers, but that works for me because he is sylph-like and moves like a cat almost. Now this, they ignored for some reason. Ignored this guy. There was also another guy that I just described as having white robes with all gold lace around and embroidery around, which to me was a throwaway description, but that was the one they picked up on and thought that could be someone dodgy to watch. Black Panther? Nope. Random guy I made up on the spot wearing gold things. That's the one they watched. So misdirection, but that's what I described him and then just let him go. He was off. Now, I'm trying to describe some events, some important events in this party. Marianne is attached to a Nerophil like no one's business. It's Heist date. That's going to be complicated when you're trying to steal something. Their plan is to... I forget what their plan is, but they've got a copy of the jewel. They're going to do sleight of hand, switcheroo. I think their plan is to get the... Lady Verena, away to one side, talk about the cursed aspects. It's meant to stop you from reproducing kids, and Dominic and Verena have had trouble in that area of the woods, so they're trying to get away to talk about perhaps he can dispel the curse, and while they're doing that there'll be some switcheroo, boom, smooth, so they won't even know they've stolen it until they're hopefully days later kind of thing. That is their plan. But that will be very difficult with Lady Marina there. So he gets her to go away. This is where Persuade Test comes in. Getting that 20, do what you want with her, tell her to go into the corner. And she does. She disappears while he's talking to Dominic, and she finds that very boring anyway. But while they are separated, Octus Cabassus starts hitting on Lady Mariana. Really bad, like being a bit over lechy. And she has a go at him. And Nerophil steps in.
Excuse me, sir. Lord Octus.
What?
And I grab his wrist. I assume he's got his hand on...
Almost a thing, yeah. Ooh, dares put his hand
I am El Capitan de Toro Diego Castelli.
You are making enemies with Cabassus, aren't you? Just last session.
I suggest that you leave this young lady alone. She is my date. And I cast Dissonant Whispers.
And Lord Octus is a bit of a pompous windbag and used to getting things his own way, but with this he threatens Lady Marianne, says you will regret spurning my advances. Looks like it's going to kick off a bit, and then it all calms down and the party continues. Meanwhile, because of Nerophil's persuasion for his manservant is allowed to use the toilet. A guard follows him, accompanies him, and the toilet, and the whole reason for this is whenever we talk about games of taverns and that, Walker's player, Rob, always asks about toilets, and we have a bit of a laugh. Where we live, there's a chain of pubs called Weatherspoons, where the toilets, no matter, even when they take over buildings and turn it into a pub, and even if there's convenient toilets downstairs, they rip those out and put them how many floors the building is right at the top, so you have to walk up loads of stairs. So in my world, in taverns, most of the time the toilets are upstairs, much like this, and we always talk about, is there an outhouse? So anyway, here is a toilet that is a magic toilet. So what happens is you go into a little small room. It's like a typical medieval toilet where it's just a seat with a hole in. You do your business, and there is a sort of teleport spell in there that takes it and plops it into the sewers underneath the party, just outside the house grounds. Now, Walker's spotted this and realises here is an out for the jewel. He experiments by trying to catch a rat and put it down there, but the rat gets away. But anyway, he realises that only a complete hole will be teleported, because you can put your arm in there, that won't be teleported. Put a thing in there, a complete thing, that gets teleported. I forget why now, but he ends up wanting to go outside, and I forget why, so you have to watch the full replay, and he's trying to hide in bushes. And there's a scene later on, it's not now, but it's a bit later on, and I can't remember why now, but he's trying to go outside as a servant and hide in bushes, and each time he tries it, the trolls are watching him, and he sort of fails his stealth roll. Well, they're not actually watching him, he rolls, fails, and then the trolls sort of turn around and see what all the noise is about, and now they're watching him, and then he has to move out of sight and try again, and he kept fine. That was quite comical, and I can't remember why he's doing that now, so go and watch the full Let's Play. It's already on Patreon. They've had it for a while before I recorded this. So yeah, so that's the scene set. We are now getting to 9:30 and Lady Verena comes down with it, with the jewel, and all the eyes are on her, and it's a beautiful thing. And yes, as I said, Liam's character, Anerifo, is trying to get us separated to do it, but again, he's such a low-level part of this party. He's almost not really that far above the servants in how much attention these nobles are going to pay to him. They've got other people, more important people to shindig with, rather than this lowly no one to them, really. Yeah, sure, to someone in a tavern, his character that he's playing would be high up, but to them, these are the higher echelon. They're nothing, and I can see that beginning to frustrate him because he's not getting what he wants. And to me, I'm not gonna. This plan's great. This plan is going to be a working plan. This would work, but it needs to be done, executed better. Yeah, I don't know how. That's not for me to decide. But I'm the conflict provider, and this is the conflict. The conflict is higher up nobles, low nobles. You're trying to convince them to do something, but time is forever marching on. Now I know. At 10:30, the surprise happens, and I was hoping that they were either going to get themselves done and sorted before 10:30, or they were so far away from achieving the goal that 10:30 happens. But guess what? We get to 9:25, 10:25 even. And I decide their role plan and what they're doing with talking about the curse has worked, and so she's going to show them upstairs, but she's going to go to the room upstairs, but it's heavily guarded, time stasis, warded room. Jubel is there, she's safe, so it's going to be difficult for them to do it this time with all this money, but they've achieved. But unfortunately, it's 10:30. As they get to the stairs where at 10:30 they go into a different room, they haven't noticed all the way through the night the Black Panther has been within an arm's distance of them and the jewel. And this is where he strikes. Suddenly, boom! Where they are, they're in darkness. People outside, it's a spear of 30-foot darkness. People outside can see this darkness, and instantly the room erupts into chaos. There is screaming, there is panic, there are guards rushing around. There is... the players are in panic. By the time they've realised what's happened, there are footsteps running up the stairs. Walker, at this point, is back in the toilet upstairs. Yes, he's been outside to recce outside, and this is where he went to the toilet. He was outside first and then in the toilet. I can't remember why he went outside. I think it's part of their plan. Then he's in the toilet. And so he's coming out of the toilet as this figure brushes past him. Now, Walker isn't in masked disguise, so this person running past him recognises him. Jumps out the window and has this sort of thing when he winches up and he's gone. Now, this character has potions of haste, he has spears of darkness, he has grappling hooks, he has flares. He's been here preparing for days, setting up, and each separate area he's got more stuff he can use. I didn't tell the players this, and I think I went wrong here. Perhaps I should have told them, because they got upset where they seem to be thinking that I'm just... Unfortunately, I'm not. This is all laid down. And Nerifal's got a potion of haste, so and this is why I really went wrong, he takes it thinking he can overtake him, but the guy's got a potion of haste and got a good head start, and I run a chase wrong in a minute, and this is totally on me. I need to get my chase game on. So the chase is on, and when they get to the rooftops, they all climb out. Unfortunately, Gelfenwith tries to climb out the roof, slips down, falls on the ground. At this point, he's looking up at Walker, picks himself up, and sort of thinks he recognises him. And Nerifal are on the roof as well, beginning to give chase. But Gelfenwith falls out the window, does some damage to herself, and decided she's had enough. She's not going to be good here. He goes home. Just goes back home, has a bath. So on the rooftop, Black Panther removes his mask. The character in the game, if people would have asked him, is called Thorn, as in an ash tree has thorns. Now, in their backstories, both of them had a joint sort of, they worked together. Walker has a half-elven brother called Ash, and there is conflict between them which led to his backstory. Aniraphil has had dealings with the character called Ash, who is a thief, a rogue, and has a hatred of him as he's done the dirty to both of them. So Black Panther removes his mask and it is Ash. And at this moment it was a what the heck moment from both the players, and I love that. I felt really cool about that. I don't feel really bad seconds later if I cock this chase up. Now I was running this chase in a very abstract manner. And where I went wrong is I rolled for initiative. I shouldn't have done that because it's a very abstract manner. There are different ways you can run chases, and I cocked it up. It's meant to be sort of segments, sections. So I'm doing these 3 away from you now. What that means is that's abstract. Don't care. There's no distance. If you stop to do an action, he's going to get an extra step away from you. If you do a chase, a movement, you get 1. Do a dash, you get 1. If you got haste, you get another 1. So Aniraphil, as it was, could have caught up with him. But he's got haste as well, and he's not doing any actions apart from his dash, run, haste. So they would have been level pegging. And I got this wrong, and I wasn't explaining it very well. And I think I annoyed a false player in real life. I will get the chase. I'm going to work on chases from now on, because there'll be a few more, I'm sure, in this urban encounter. But anyway, what happens is, I won't go too much into the chase. It was, you can watch it on Patreon or don't. You can see how badly I did with it. But we get to a stage where they're effectively caught up, almost. But he's going to get away. He's in the gates, and they have a conflict. And I'm going to let Aniraphil take over the conflict, the resolution of conflict.
I know you're here, Ash. Why are you hiding from me? I'm right here in front of you. You've been chasing me for years. Come and claim me. Not tonight. Look, leave. Not tonight.
And that is where we left the session, with Ash getting away with the jewel into the night. But luckily, they've got out of the party as well. The Spear of Darkness sort of done them a favour. They were able to escape without having any questions. So what will happen next session? Find out in the next recap. Thanks for listening to this waffle. Thanks for all the support you've shown, guys. I really appreciate it. Until the next one, stay safe, take care. Bye bye.